Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode. Today, we have Greg with us. I'm going to read his quick intro bio that I've got here, and then Greg is going to take it away and give us a bit of an insight into his business, his industry, and everything he's done over the years. So Greg Miall has spent 20 years building a media business. He has run and been part of the leadership team of 5 startups, so he's got loads of experience to share with us today. He's run a content partnership for Yahoo for many years, so some big names being dropped as part of this call, and has spent the last 5 years running new ventures for a major Central European media business. So Greg's business is Gaggle, is pioneering creator-hosted watch parties. Is it talking TV shows? Or is it taking TV shows? That's the one. There we go. So taking TV shows and making them available for creators. So you've told me a bit about how their system works and about how they provide content for creators to use during their stream. But obviously, Greg is going to tell us a bit more about that as part of this call. So I'll give it over to you, Greg. If you give us a bit of an intro about where you started, and then we'll take it away.
Great. So let me explain what Gaggle does. We license TV shows, and we make them available for social media creators to watch on their channels with their audience, currently on Twitch, in the future on lots of social media platforms. So we work with major shows that you know and love, big game shows, high energy TV shows like Taskmaster is on our platform. We make them available so 100, 200, 300 creators can watch in their own time on their own platforms. The shows, we make the shows interactive, so you can play along. Some of our shows are some of the big US game shows, for instance, The Price is Right, Family Feud. So the host will ask a question, will pause the show, and then the creator can be like, "Okay, everyone, what's the price of the TV?" And everyone has to guess in chat using their keyboards. They then earn points from the correct answers, and the show's watched. So it's a whole new way of watching TV, very Gen Z, very 1840, and a lot of fun.
What's interesting is it's reinvigorating names and programs that people already know, reality TV, and allowing the younger generations that are more on social media rather than traditional TV to actually get engaged with them and recognize those things that they've already heard about.
Yeah, exactly. So we see 3 groups of TV watchers when you think about it broadly. So when you and I think about TV, we'll think about the big flat screen across the living room, or the projector, right? And we watch Netflix and Disney Plus. And so it's series, it's 8 times 1 hour shows, right? And that for us is TV, right? So, but if you go to your mother or your mother-in-law's house, right, there are lots of small TVs all over the house, and they're permanently on, right? And she's chopping carrots in the kitchen, and occasionally she'll turn around and she'll go, "No, the answer's 52. And you're like, "Mom, why are you shouting at the TV?" And she's going, and you think, "It can't hear you." And she goes, "That's the point." I think everyone has experience. You're laughing because my mother-in-law is exactly like that, and so and so this sort of behavior of sort of daytime TV and shouting at the TV has existed for hundreds of years. What we do is exactly the same thing. We just do it with technology. And so you're on Twitch, you're watching Extra Emily, and she's playing Supermarket Sweep. And you're shouting at the TV with your keyboard, and Roger T23 says, "No, I can't believe you're doing this," or whatever it is. And so it's it's a lot of fun. It's a
very interesting concept as well, because I do find myself like scrolling through social media and the way we consume social media videos today, and then eventually you get a program similar to that where you see reactions of creators to shows that they're watching and showing to the audience that they've got there, and you just want to get engaged, and then you spend I'll spend 5 minutes on this and just spend a bit of time, then you realize, oh, an hour's gone by and I'm still watching this. there's definitely entertainment in it, so that's what's great. But give us a bit of a background about you, Greg. Where did you start? How did you develop to the point where you are today to be doing Gaggle?
Yeah, so I've spent 20 years in the media industry, and the media industry is fun because it's a huge industry, right? Everyone spends 3 or 4 hours a day on their phones or watching TV or whatever, and so and yet it changes constantly. And so I started in the news industry, right, which went through massive disruption. And then music went through its massive disruption, and then magazines of specialist interest. And I was at Yahoo. I was at Time Out for a bit. I was at Yahoo for a bit. And each time you see these incredible changes where the audience disappears, very rapidly, with digital and digital fundamentally, media is content and distribution. So this podcast is content, the stuff we're talking about, and distribution, the podcast, or whether it's you're listening to it on Spotify or it's on YouTube, right? This is no different from an interview that could have appeared in a newspaper many, many years ago, right? The content is the same. The method of distribution is different. Digital changes distribution. It doesn't change content or the need for content. And what you find in all sectors of the media industry is that as digital reinvents the industry, the people in the industry who are stuck in, a horizontal video format, which you call TV, now have to change to a horizontal video format that you call the iPad, and the distribution is not from something called ITV, it's something called YouTube. But that's a very radical shift, right? And then people have these endless debates about, is YouTube TV? Well, of course it's TV. It's the same damn thing. It's like, so media is constantly changing, and that's what's really interesting about the industry. And change brings opportunity. I've spent the last 5 years running ventures for a big media organization. We had a lot of TV, cinema, radio, music, digital businesses, and I watched the 18 to 40-year-old audience disappear. Right? And at the same time, a guy, Adam, who I've worked with for many years in different businesses, was at Twitch. Okay. And he was watching creators illegally streaming TV shows on Twitch. Yep. And some of the biggest shows on YouTube, MasterChef, these sorts of things, and getting taken down, getting DMCA strikes in the US and getting taken down for doing it. But the demand was there. Yeah. And so we sit down a couple of years ago, and we were both at this point fed up of our big corporate high-paid jobs, and we decided that what we really wanted to do was set up our own startup and get paid very little for building something ourselves, which I thought was we thought was sensible and rational at this point. And we thought about what we should do, and Adam talked about this thing and I talked about this thing, and we realized that if we put it together, and based on our experience and the people we know and everything else, we could put it together, we could build a great business.
And the result of this collaboration was Gaggle TV. Exactly.
And we launched 18 months ago, and you've heard it first here. It's the next
thing. Well, it was interesting when you mentioned the creators illegally streaming content that's basically not theirs, because you can get this content distributed out there, and then when you're a creator, I guess you're not a business, you're not necessarily an IP professional, you don't understand how the intellectual property might actually be it's something that you're trespassing for someone else's rights. And then suddenly you're just on your own, you're 17 years old, and you've decided you're going on Twitch because you do a bit of gaming and you've seen some of your friends on there, and then you start doing a stream, and then that stream becomes, I'm doing something that I'm doing anyway, and I'm streaming it for other people. And you went straight away from being a content creator for personal use, where you're just there and people are watching you, to actually monetizing on someone else's intellectual property. And I guess that was quite interesting on the fact that you recognize that, but most people that are streaming the content wouldn't have that as a concept before you go and tell them. And hopefully you tell them before the owner of the rights of the program tells them, because then everything goes downhill very fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're pretty aware of it. But if you think about it, there's at least 2 million people, streaming on social media, every week. And there's no way that 2 million people can organize, rights. But if you want to watch Taskmaster, you have to do a deal with the people who own Taskmaster, right? And we know them, but you don't know them, and they certainly don't want to deal with 2 million people. And there's no way for them, even if they set up a portal, that you could then access their content. I mean, it's so you need a company to organize all of that, right? And then bring in the advertising and organize the creators and make sure that there are no rogue agents in there, and right, and build a platform and the tech stack that deals with it.
Yeah. So you've seen a market opportunity or something that made sense to you, is something that you thought this could be a good business and sounds sensible. I've got a partner that we can do it together, so we both have this new venture that we were starting on, and then you just thought, go for it, let's do it.
Yeah, you know what, Roger? It was even more than that. We started to, we obviously, a good idea is a good idea, but then there are hundreds of them. And so you test the idea, right? You go out and speak to people and you get introductions. And we spoke to a lot of the major broadcasters whose names you know, and we spoke to a lot of the big content owners whose names you know. And the reaction was very, very, very positive to what we were doing. And so eventually it got to the point where we had to do it. It wasn't that we wanted, or you just had to. It was the most important thing in everyone's lives, and sort of we'd always regret not doing it and once you got to the point where you'll always regret, that's it, you do it. Like there's no, the need is greater than the rationality, and you build. So and it's important you have that passion. It's important you have that belief, because there will always be hard times, right? This is the definition of running startups. It's not glamorous. There is survivorship bias, and frankly, you're building something from nothing. So go for it.
You need to have all your hats in your cupboard ready to go. All the different hats you need to wear when you're running the business, and you need to be in it. So in terms of technology, obviously, you start in one industry and you're essentially remaining within the industry, but in a completely different way to consume media and distribute media for Twitch. But also, what's kind of the expansion of this platform now? Because on one hand, you've got the shows that want to build up their audience and get their royalties for distributing their show. And on the other hand, you've got creators that need this content to continue interacting with it for their creative needs. So like you said, the shows don't want to be dealing with 2 million people, and vice versa. You don't want 2 million people trying to find all their shows and having to register to each one of them to be able to make an agreement to use it. So you're that connecting link now. But Twitch is one of those methods. Is there any other platforms that you're considering? Are you building your own platform? What does it look like for the future of where you're headed?
So we strongly believe in going to an audience where the audience is. I think a lot of people make the mistake in going, I have to have my own app. I have to have my own, and actually they're all quite happy on someone else's app, and that app has spent a lot of time and money building that app up. So why don't you go there? Because then you can have a ready-made audience. And so, for that reason, we strongly believe in going to creators where they are already, where they have their audience, and we're starting on Twitch because it's the biggest live streaming platform, right?
Yes.
It's not the only live streaming platform, and TikTok Live is a great platform. YouTube Live is a great platform, right? There are other platforms that we will aim to be on in the future, and we'll do that over time. But everything we do, we operate a crawl, walk, run approach. And so we start small, we start manual, and then as we understand the use case really well, we then build technology to automate that. So we've been able to scale the business very quickly, but by underpinning it with great technology all along the way. So that's really one of the key success factors here, and just making sure we deliver quality at every stage.
Yeah, this is quite interesting you say that, because most people get excited, and in that excitement they go straight for the big things. They see the shiny object syndrome and they try and go for that, but then you realize that you're bashing your head against the wall. You're not going to break through. You might just need to walk around it, and you need to do those crawl steps to understand that your assumptions are actually what they are, that they're true. You don't want to go and assume that, that person's going to be my ideal customer and go straight for the sale. Well, where's your market research? How have you discovered that they're the ideal customer? But yeah, it's very interesting you say that, because you actually come from a lot of experience of working with startups and going through that process. And your approach is, if you want success, take it slow, do the basics, underpin everything you do with that, and you can automate it once you understand it well enough.
Yeah, it's really important. It's very, very easy to spend a lot of money on tech and then be slightly one-eyed about the fact that, why is the tech not working, etc. It's much easier to know exactly what you need to build and then just build it.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. So I'm now thinking from where you are today, you've got, and actually this is something for the potential creators that are watching us today, or people are thinking about getting into this world. How do they interact with the platform? How do they come to you? How do they get set up for the very first stream ever? Do they start at Twitch? Do they start by having a chat with you? Do they start by just making all their accounts, putting them in place, and then attempting it? What's your advice?
Yeah, so if you're a creator and you're on Twitch, you can go to gaggle.tv and apply to stream Gaggle. If you're a Twitch partner, we will let you in automatically. So there's different tiers of creator on Twitch. There's Twitch partners, there's affiliates, and there's community. If you're a Twitch partner, no problem. You've been well vetted by Twitch. Come on, try it. Get in touch with us. We have a Discord channel, obviously, and talk to our community manager. Lee is always around. If you're a Twitch affiliate, we've opened up to affiliates initially just with invite codes and sort of us, but now you can get in touch, and you can get in touch with us, and we will let you in. So we just have a little bit of a gating facility. We have a very simple but not simplistic contract, which you have to sign, 2.5-page contract, and that just covers things like non-disparagement and how you can use the content. Right? It's very clear. You can broadcast this on Twitch. You can't broadcast it, live onto YouTube, obviously. And then you get access to the platform, and the platform is Netflix for creators. So it looks like Netflix, right? There's a what's called a hero module at the top. There's all the shows. You click on the show, it then shows all the episodes. You click on the episode, and then it comes up. So if you think of a full screen, we have the show, and it's the full show. We then have space for you, the creator, and we have an interaction panel. Interaction panel gives all the instructions. You play the show. You broadcast it via OBS onto your Twitch channel. You can broadcast it whenever you want. You play the show. The show will pause automatically at the right moments to bring in interactivity, so that your audience can then play along, and you can play along, and you can guess what happens next, or what the price of the car is, or name 5 things Americans put on their pizza, and
I'd like to hear that list.
whatever it is, whatever it is. And some of the shows are then sponsored, right? And so brands come in, sponsor the shows, and with that, it's like a traditional TV sponsorship with a logo. And then at set moments in the show, we will use the show's mechanic, as it were, to discuss brand questions. So whatever. We asked 100 Twitch streamers what the best thing on the McDonald's breakfast menu is, and Roger, what is the best thing, or what is the number one selling thing on the McDonald's breakfast menu, in your opinion? Putting you on the spot.
It's the mayo chicken.
Breakfast, my friend.
It's I have it for breakfast. There's no one else.
There you go. It turns out it's Egg McMuffin, and so now it's not hash browns, it's not egg and bacon McMuffin, which is what I would have said it was. It's Egg McMuffin. That's the number one thing on the McDonald's side of bread. And next time you go past the McDonald's, you will say to yourself, I was watching Gaggle the other day, and did you know the number one item on the McDonald's breakfast menu is Egg McMuffin, right? And that has value. And you know what? I feel like an Egg McMuffin. So, thank you, McDonald's, for sponsoring the show. And there we go. So
what I find really interesting about the way you've set up your platform is that it actually gives those pausing points. They are the highlights of the show, and you can't expect a creator that's just picked up a show to know where the highlights are so they can pause it themselves or do the interaction themselves. So you almost give them little cards of interaction. Interact now. The with the live audience. Now it's time to clap your hands. It's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's fully self-serve, right? It's fully self-serve. And one of the things, if you're a live creator, a lot of these guys are doing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? It's really intense.
Yeah.
And it's always you putting in energy. I mean, I really can't imagine. They all burn out after 7 years, right? And so actually providing something for the creators to sit back, chill, go, we're going to do Friday night, we're having gaggle night. Let's play some Price is Right or whatever, right? And you can chill and you can play some episodes and your audience can play along. It's just a really nice thing for everyone.
Very nice.
So we have a creators. We have a very, very high NPS score from creators. So I'd say this.
Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? That's how you know that what you've built is actually useful. Is providing value. So if we were to take it back to the technology, then. So today you've built your own platform. You've got Gaggle running. And we've got creators running their streams by watching shows, and all that is now enabled. Going forward into the future, with the developments in your industry, obviously you keep changing the media, the media of distribution of the content, but the content can remain the same. And the attempt from the content is to allow people to consume, feel involved, give them a reason to watch something that's either interesting or entertaining, etc. So some things stay the same, but the platforms could keep changing, and it's very hard for people that are not planning ahead to keep up with it. And that's how you see the audience shifting, and before you know it, a business that was really successful now has no audience to watch the content that they're distributing, not because the content's changed, but because the audience has moved on to a different consuming method. So how do you stay ahead of that? What opportunities do you see coming in the future, or what dangers do you see coming, and how do you position yourselves to better deal with that?
So I think probably the most interesting thing that's coming is live streaming in a vertical format, right? And so TikTok's obviously the platform for that. People are doing a lot of work on TikTok. It's obviously not a brand new trend. It's been going for a while, but there are now companies who are operating on TikTok and who've cracked the code in the last year that takes it a little bit beyond just, let's say, shopping, and so because of that, it's now becoming more and more a really good option for live streaming, and so people then building their audiences on live streaming, and so at some point it becomes the platform to jump in on, because obviously there's a great audience there as well, right? It's similar audiences doing different things. So that's really, really interesting. YouTube is putting more, it's just reorganized itself. I read they're putting more emphasis on creators, because really YouTube is now supporting creators, also from a technology perspective, because YouTube is obviously a massive beast, incredibly good at content surfacing and recommendations, and incredibly good at the monetization side of things. AdSense is an amazing tool. Some of the, particularly on the live streaming side, some of the technology they have hasn't historically been as strong as some of the other platforms, and it can come across as a little bit of a behemoth sometimes, and so listen, the platform wars are real, right? I worked at Yahoo. I've seen it. Like these platforms are constantly in this massive battle with each other for share. And again, that's what makes it fun and dynamic. So, you lean into the platforms that are doing, the best work and have the best audience and the best monetization.
Yeah, it's interesting that you see the focus turning towards the vertical format, because obviously everyone has a phone and usually is a smartphone, and people do consume content from the smartphone. So live streaming on those platforms is becoming more and more prevalent. But then there were quite a few people saying that the smartphone is on its way out, which is like looking very far into the future, because I can't see it happening any year now. And the idea behind it is that with getting the AI platforms coming out, or having the VR AR wearables coming out, that the interaction with technology can rapidly change. And when the smartphone became that platform for interaction, when was it? 15 years ago? 20 years ago? when it happened,
Yeah, 50.
people,
Yeah.
oh, there you go. People
27.
just, almost within a year, everyone's gone from the numbered pad phone straight into the smartphone, and they lingered around for a bit, those buttons. Eventually, they just completely went. But you consume on your phone now, and they're thinking maybe that's the next thing now, that we move away from phones and something else comes in. But how can you see a VR or AR performance or experience completely replacing the content that already exists and gets consumed from something as simple as a smartphone? I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. And this is now on its way up, never mind being on its way out. So do you see any of those?
Yeah, so I don't think that things. I think when people talk about things being on their way out, they don't fully appreciate the history of it. So TV didn't replace radio, right? Radio still exists. 100 years later, and you're in your car, you listen to radio. It's kind of what you do. You stream music on Spotify, but radio is still a really big industry. And 30 years ago, if you'd said that to me, I'd have been really surprised that it's still a big industry 30 years later. VR and AR doesn't replace phones. Phones will, in the same way that your phone didn't replace your laptop. I'm on a laptop right now. It's additional. So each new piece of technology adds an additional type of media.
Yeah. And
eventually, and there's a curve and in usage, and eventually things decline, right? And Facebook. Because it becomes something that only old people do. And traditional TV is like that. Broadcast TV, on BBC One is like that. It's now watched by people who are, if I'm being generous, 60 plus, and if I'm being honest, 70 plus. Really, if you look at the stats, it really is. So it won't replace, right? And our generation will always use smartphones.
Yeah.
And they'll keep getting better and keep getting bigger. And by the way, the reason I said 2010 on smartphone, I know the iPhone came out a few years earlier, but it didn't have 3G when it came out, and it was tiny. And there weren't a load of apps. So, things come early, and then there's an adoption.
Yeah.
The iPhone really only took off after iPhone 4 in terms of actual something that people could really use, consume media, on it. Yeah. And now, obviously, it's huge, but it wasn't huge when people had small iPhones,
Yeah.
So
who was it? There was an industry expert that came out. It might have been the BlackBerry director. I can't remember exactly who it was. Who came out in the early days of the announcement of the iPhone with no buttons at all, apart from the back button that it had at the bottom. And he said, it'll never catch on. It'll never happen. No one will. Everyone always wants tactile buttons, and that's just the thing. Because I can't think of a single business person that's going to be able to type in their emails on just a smartphone. And that was his big, seeing into the future, and how wrong he was. But at the time that he had said that, it's exactly what you were saying. It was a tiny screen. There weren't a lot of apps on it. It wasn't something you could use effectively for your business. So at that moment in time, it's out. It's not even being considered. But as it developed as an ecosystem, the adoption rate just shot up, and here we are today, 20 years later.
There's a guy called Bill, used to run a company that you may have heard of called Microsoft.
Oh yeah.
He turned around once and he said the vision is that there's a computer on every desk in every office, and everyone just turned around and went, dude, you're nuts, right? Because computers had really limited functionality, and they were really expensive, and they were bulky, right? Now we've got spare computers in our cupboards.
We've got computers in our pockets, never mind in our
well, that's a whole other thing. But it's very hard when you start an industry, when you're really early in an industry, and the technology is fundamentally sort of nowhere near where it will be.
Yeah.
To go, my God, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. And as an entrepreneur, or as let's say a business person, you have two choices, right? As the entrepreneur, you have to go really early and take bets really early and go, I'm going to build from this really early stage. As an executive, you want to go a little bit later, because here's where you earn the money and the nice salary. You don't get the equity. Here's where you don't earn the salary, you get the equity, and that's the choice that you have. But yeah, you have to go early, and you have to build the industry as well as building the
It's almost like it's reflected on the adoption bell of early adopters, where they're getting things in before they're proven and they see a potential. But you reflect it on a business perspective. You have early adopters as users because they see something that's novel, something that's cool. It might not function at all, but it's a video that makes them excited about the potential of it, and they jump on it straight away. And then you get the next layer, like you said, you get the people that adopt on its rise when it's not a proven concept, it's a new thing, but it's been seen to work in the environment that it's supposed to. And that's for the business people, that's where the opportunity for making money on it as part of the industry rise comes in. And then you just get the users that are just at the middle of the bell curve, where they've seen everyone else using it, everyone's already using it, so might as well as I use it as well. I'm not getting any bets, I'm not profiting from anything, but I'm using it, I'm consuming it, I'm buying it when it's the norm. And then you get people that just are left behind times. They adopt afterwards when no one else cares about it anymore. It might be on its way out as well. So there you go.
Yeah, and classic. We all studied adoption curves at university, but actually the interesting point is how you then, as you say, use that from a creation of business perspective and where you go in, because you'll talk to VCs and too early for them. Investing in something too early is the same result as the business being crap. Like, there are plenty of businesses who were effectively too early and burnt too much money early and didn't wait, and now they that's why you crawl, walk, run. Going back to the
full circle. We've done full circle. So I think that's a very good point to put a full stop and just ask you for any final thoughts, any final remarks, or anything you want to get out right before we finish this podcast.
I think this is this is a really interesting space. If you're a creator, if you're on Twitch, come and check us out. It's gaggle.tv. We have over 100 episodes of different TV shows for you to watch. And it's a lot of fun. People really enjoy it. So,
exciting space to be in. Go and check it out. Amazing. Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you very much for the insights into your industry. And we'll post this episode out as fast as we can.
Cool. Cheers,
amazing. Thank you very much.
Show. Okay.